Good evening and welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Stephen, welcome back to the show, man.
How are you? Good to be back for more.
I'm doing good. It's a little bit since I've seen you, and I know how much you write songs. So you've probably written like 3 solo albums since the last time I've talked to you. You're such a prolific songwriter.
I got to tell you, it's the other day I was like going through songs that I've written that I really haven't put words to, because if I start on something, I'll kind of give it a title just so I can remember the music.
Yeah. And
I'm looking through this going, holy shit, the solo record's put away, ready to record. We're just waiting for the go to, I'm gonna license it to. And I found all these songs with just me on, playing guitar and stuff. And I just said, I've never really released a record with me just playing all the guitar, all the solos, all the same Top Fuel Records process. We have a studio. My bass player is the engineer, co-produces with me, and nobody else. I just want me to go in there, get a drummer in there, and just have at it. So I put together, over a dozen song ideas. And the thing is, I actually called my bass player, Jerry, and said, hey, we've got to start working on some stuff, because the music I'm actually talking about, it's like the RATT EP. They're like notes. I mean, one of these songs, believe it or not, could be construed as a Metallica tune. I mean, they're just heavy EP kind of songs sounding. You Got It, Tell the World, Cheater. They're in that vein. So
I think that stuff is really chunky, because I know you have if you look at on anybody's following, you have the Mickey Rat anthology. Yeah. That's like everywhere. I love the version of Round and Round. It's fatter. It's chunkier. The guitar on that is actually heavier, I think, than the produced one that you guys did as a single. Yeah, and I love that one. I love both, but I like the chunky one, man.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like I've worked with so many people, and then I finally stopped saying, I've re-recorded with George Lynch some stuff, Tracii Guns, besides the originals with the Warren, and even before that, with Chris Hager, who was the lead guitar player in Mickey Rat. I can literally throw up a version of, let's say, Sweet Cheater. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it on the website.
That'd be fun.
Who do you like better? Of course, DeMartini, but it'll have DeMartini, Chris Hager, George Lynch, this guy, that guy, and so take a vote. Who sounds
Which
better?
version? That'd be kind of fun. Yeah. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah,
like that. Well, you've done a lot of versions of stuff that are out there too. So, I mean, you've redone them, and like I went through some of your albums. I mean, the progression of sounds you've gone through too of each album.
Yeah, you know what I really liked? I did this re-recording of Round and Round for a band called the Tories, and their version was kind of like acoustic kind of a thing. And they asked me if I'd sing backups, and I go, sure. I liked their rendition so much. I actually, when I did Stripped, that record, I did their version. So I ended up with myself twice.
I'll have to check that one out. It's funny. You sing a lot of stuff. I mean, you're not against singing. I mean, you'll do covers. You started out doing covers. You're a singer. Hell, you've even done Grim Got Run Over by a Reindeer.
Oh God, the other Christmas. Yeah, that's
it's funny. It's
like if you can't, I'm the firm believer of not trying anything just to do it. If you can try something that's out of your realm or whatever, I find it.
It's not even that bad though. It's not that bad though. I mean, it's not like it. I mean. I laughed. I thought it was pretty funny. I mean, you sound good in it. I mean, you sound fine. It's not bad. I did not expect to hear that from you. I was like, what?
I know, it's crazy. So I stopped doing those things, but the re-recording, I've done
that's pretty funny.
They just keep rehashing them, and so it's the buck stopped a bit ago from that, but
it's all right. You got enough songs anyhow. So I got a couple things I want to talk about. Let's talk about your streaming event. The first thing, congratulations on it. A lot of good reviews. People loved it, man. Fantastic.
Well, you know, unfortunately, it was supposed to be a RATT stream for last New Year's Eve for the new year, 2021. And it's okay. I'll take on all comers. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
And the best about it is I got to step outside of the RATT mode. I mean, look, I'm a solo artist too. I recorded, like, you know, I'm on my 6th solo record. I just don't put stuff out there to put out there. There's got to be a reason. Nobody's heard it, or it's different. You know, and I was doing this long ago, finding these deep cuts, you know. So I'm utilizing that, you know, as much as I can.
Well, I mean, you are the voice of RATT, and for most, you are RATT. Most, you know what I'm saying? You sing it, you do the RATT songs, you do solo, it still sounds like RATT. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one else can sing like you, so you are the voice of RATT. So,
well, the best thing about it was I do solo stuff, and that's the best about that stream gig. And it is a different. RATT Bastards are a whole nother animal from, you know, obviously RATT, and we don't have the, you know, Robin with us, and the band isn't the original members. You do what you can do, but for how long? You know, I don't want this band to become a cover band. If I had my way, the original guys would be in the studio, or we would be writing. And, you know, who knows, talking about bigger, better things, you know, the last lap, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I mean, so you did the show. Don't mean to talk over you. So what happened? So Bobby, obviously, and also you had Scotty playing drums, and Scotty's a monster, right? So Scotty's, props to Scotty Coogan out there right now. But obviously, Bobby is what everyone's hot about because RATT.
Correct.
But that being said, once that got done, were people like, hey, was Warren or you know, Juan kind of like, oh, kind of excited? Was there like any more dirt kicking up, a little more excitement now?
I haven't heard from their comments, but
what?
You know,
wow, that's crazy.
Well, we kind of tend to, if there's no business at hand, even back in the day, everybody goes to their own village, you know. Yeah. And you write or you do whatever until you hear get that phone call tomorrow, you know. But we'll see what happens. I really enjoyed it, doing the stream. Now I know what to do, you know. So the next one will be definitely, we'll have some kind of live audience.
Well, yeah. People say, though, it's how awkward it is, and you do well, though.
Yeah, I love playing cover songs. I love Zeppelin, Bowie, Priest, Aerosmith. I'll even perform that Girls on Film. It doesn't bother me. Toys in the Attic. I mean, I love doing that shit. It's what I grew up on, you know. So I get a chance just to get my yayas out instead of, okay, here you got to play around. You have to lay it down. You have to tell the world. And, you know, so I enjoy those. The next stream will be a bigger, better, cooler event.
Well, but for your first one, though, you really got a lot of kudos. I think a lot of good comments were you were working it like you were kind of coming into an audience. You were coming into a living room. You were looking at the right angle. You know, there's been a lot of streams been kind of on the band. It feels like a band practice. It feels like you kind of came in guns blazing. It's not me just saying it. It's the reviews. People just go out there and listen. It's you kind of locked in out of the gate.
Yeah, we had a great response, and it was successful. So, like I'm saying, now I know what to do. Now I know how to deal with a better production, and you know, using the same company. I don't know, because when you want to do bigger and better things, you know, you will take it to the next level. But it was a great time, great response. That's the RATT Bastards, you know. You put us in a corner and we'll come out punching, you know.
Well, the people lost their mind when you and Bobby got together. If anybody, two people are going to get together, you and Bobby of the band, with you guys were the holdouts, you know.
Yeah, well, so. Never say never, you know. And it's like I could call Warren, and if I don't hear from him, that's okay. That's how we were, and that's how
I know, but you and Bobby though are like when the Eagles got back together. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the hell is over type of deal. That's different.
You're correct, everybody, and we still talk all the time. You know?
I know, but
it was crazy. Different. It was crazy, and you know, hey, like I say never, and bygones be bygones. I don't hold grudges unless you really fucked me somewhere. But I mean, with a guy like that, it's like my brother, you know.
Yeah.
You fight, you know, that's just the way it is. I mean, look, we were packed up for years in a bus, you know what I mean? So you get to know somebody very well. And now we're all a little bit older, grown up, more mature, and there's different ways of handling things. And first and foremost is, hey, are we cool? Okay, let's hang. And that's where it's at.
Well, yeah, I mean, no, and nobody can say like no one's lived in the same shoes that you and Bobby and Warren and Juan. You guys all lived a certain life that no one else experienced. And then, well, the five of you at one point, but then obviously the four of you that are survivors. And now you guys are older, and mature, and you have a legacy. And we've learned you don't want to, you know, people are dying. You want to make sure you at least have a friendship with the band. You know what I'm saying? Even if you don't play, I mean, we've learned that from like with Eddie and stuff. That stuff happens, man, and it sucks.
Well, yeah, I mean, look. There's one thing we all have to do is die. How you want to get there and take it, you know, is your own trip. You know, I have my own beliefs on, you know, you can't come back and say, let's do that. You know, that was a great idea. You got to move while the iron's. Oh, and I'm the ultimate instigator, so that's what I'm doing now. We'll see what happens. I mean, look,
awesome.
They never, I believe, and you know, take it from there.
All right, I'm gonna say just have one question. This is something I got when you know, it's always out there talking about the band and stuff, because you only want, this is gonna be like the end. We'll go to some albums, but you're talking about RATT, and you said you don't really want to go out there. You want to do maybe one last hurrah with the band.
I would like.
All right, and you didn't want to do it, say, with Carlos this time. I mean, the Infestation album was fantastic. You guys play well. He's a good player, but you kind of want to do the four guys or do the original maybe type of deal.
As much as possible. Yeah, go ahead.
There is one other original guy you could put in for a fifth member when you play live. You know, Jakey Lee.
Yeah, well, he was kind of, I don't know if we even approached him back then. He's
different. Yeah, he would be awesome to see. People love him.
Yeah, he's a one guitar band guy.
Okay, I get that.
He needs that because of his playing, and that's one of the reasons. I don't know, maybe he didn't like me or something, but towards the end. But you know, that was one of the reasons he left. He's not a two guitar guy. I wanted to bring another guy in and start this whole new thing. You know, started out as me singing, playing guitar. Then I'm gonna say, hey, Jake, you're the guy. And so who knows? But, you know, if we're not talking any of that now, I think it would be great for the fans, you know, our friends. I call our fans friends.
Yeah.
I think it would be way cool. So we'll see what happens. You know, I make no promises, but one thing is, you know, hey, I put it out there. I'm not going to do a record and without the original guy. It just doesn't make sense. But I have to say, when I made that remark, a lot of people were going, "Oh, that's a great record, Infestation. You shouldn't put it down. Be happy, your fans." I'm like, give me a fucking break. I go, look, my point was.
Well, I get that. That's why I preempted what I said because of that. I'm like, I get that.
Yeah, we didn't have all the real elements. If there was a Juan, there was a Warren, there was a Bobby, there was. Whoa, you pretty much got a great nucleus right there, and. That's where I go, man, you know, that would be the ultimate e-ticket, not, you know, just keep having one guy come in, one guy come out, and, you know, blah, blah. So that's where that stands, you know?
All right, well, so RATT EP came out, blasted out, you had like 100,000 copies, something ridiculous.
Right.
At that point, and we're talking about you kind of like redoing some songs between Mickey RATT, and then they kind of get remade a few times. So that EP did pretty good, had a certain sound, a little raw. Yeah. Then I know they went and repolished it, I guess, for the reproduction. Didn't Atlantic like redo it?
We redid it back more.
Yeah. And then out of the Cellar, obviously probably the biggest album that you guys did. I mean,
it still is to this day. Yep.
So a lot of those songs you have on there were really good. It was the full band. You guys were firing on all cylinders. And what I know changed a lot. I know you like to write alone, or you've said you like to write your lyrics and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, changes between the albums I'm kind of curious about as a band to the years, because songwriting is different each album. You know what I mean?
Well, the way I work and worked with my band with RATT is I still, unless you bring a song in, that's complete. Like when we were thinking about, when we had the opportunity to do the EP, we really didn't have any music. We were playing all of Mickey RATT's music.
Right.
And Up in the Dog, and I think we were just starting to write, like this one song, Reach for the Sky, and this other one, I Won't Lose, which I have, and the original band demoed it for Out of the Cellar, but never made it. So one day you'll hear those. But anyway, if you didn't bring in a complete song back in the day when we were in pre-production for Out of the Cellar, or the EP, it really wasn't, noticed or something, and unless we were just, whoa. Hence, you think you're tough. That was probably the first real RATT song written as, not as a group, performed, recorded by the band. All those other songs on the EP, You Got It, Cheater, Tell the World, were Mickey RATT songs. They were completely done. Which it gets to the point. No, I really wouldn't consider working on a song unless you just give me music, unless you really had some kind of somebody. Robin had a great title or words for a bridge. And the same would be said for anybody else. I mean, Juan came to the table with for Out of the Cellar with a couple songs, and they were pretty much complete, except on one song I really couldn't bite into the lyrics, and it really wasn't me. So that's why I like to write lyrics alone, because if I have any kind of outside, influence, it wouldn't sound like me. Some people like talking about the sky and water and stuff. Me, I like talking about cement and, trippier shit, cement pirate shit. So, that's where that came from. It's not that I didn't want to write lyrics with these people, because at the end of the day, it was Beau Hill who went, "Oh, that sucks," or "That's great. You're a producer."
Right.
Or somebody in the band did come up with something great, but like Lack of Communication per se, I changed a couple things, but it's a Juan song, complete. So I would come up with complete songs, or leave me alone. Give me your ideas and leave me alone, and then you'll get your product.
I know, because at one point that you talked about, like, the band was kind of like, they're kind of like, oh, he takes off and he does the song separately, and I know you said that before, so I was kind of curious that it kind of drove him nuts. But then, of course, at that point in the songwriting, your band was a couple albums in, everyone's getting bigger, egos are getting bigger, everything's kind of separating, and then so when you're songwriting, everything just is amplified. So it's not about the songwriting, it's about everything's about everything. So
sure. So
I'm kind of focusing in on, like, oh, so let's really talk about the song part of it, and that's because that's what people love to hear.
Yeah.
So Out of the Cellar had a really great raw sound. It was a cleaned up version, obviously, and you were, like I said, a lot of old Mickey RATT songs were kind of cleaned out that you weren't using. You were starting to kick in new songs as a band.
Yeah.
Then you came out, then Invasion of Your Privacy. That album, a lot thicker. I think the guitars sounded heavier in that one. That's my outside thought.
That record was a whole, it was quite different than Out of the Cellar. All we knew is that, oh shit, you have I don't call it a hit record. You hit a nerve. And I think Bo's thinking the same thing. You guys better write the best shit you've ever written. And that's what we attempted to do. And we did bring the notch up a few. So it was cool. I love Invasion. I think Invasion is a great record.
Invasion is that one, I would say, and that's probably that and Detonator are probably my two favorite RATT albums. Like my top two, and then I'd probably work. But with Invasion, it's kind of like ballady things, and but what's interesting, at least you didn't release. Is there any old Mickey RATT stuff? This was all new RATT stuff at this point, right? This album was all band.
Invasion?
Yeah.
I think there might have been, I'd have to look, but there might have been a couple leftovers. Yeah, if I'm thinking about it now, it's quite possible. Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen any. At least they're not released like publicly. I mean, I know you have like every bootleg of yourself ever released, you know, but I don't think I've ever seen these released. That's why I was asking, as far as these felt like they were a new animal itself.
Yeah, the songs on Invasion.
Yeah. You're in Love, Never Use Love, Lay It Down.
Whoa, whoa. Stop right there. There you go. Never Use Love. Never Use Love is a Mickey RATT song. I wrote that song complete, all done, complete. So I did that throughout the catalog. I would bring it like Top Secret. That's a Mickey RATT idea. Okay. That was actually recorded by Mickey RATT. And so, yeah, you just refreshed my memory. Yeah, there are a couple songs that were Mickey RATT or that have been sitting around. And like I say, it goes back to This Song's Complete. Here you go, guys. We used to do it in our set in '83. It didn't make Cellar. So it's time. And it worked.
Oh yeah, well, first in your defense, I mean, you've written probably hundreds and hundreds of songs and put so many different albums and versions of albums, and you know, and to remember all that would be just insane. I'm not trying to make a RATT joke either. You're insane. But to that point, but Never Use Love, the production really made it fit, because I couldn't hear. I mean, that sound would not have worked on out of the Cellar like that. It works with Invasion of Privacy.
You're spot on.
Was that a producer decision, or who made that decision?
It is a producer decision.
Yeah.
Because once Bo figured us out, which he did, because see, Out of the Cellar was pretty much his first rodeo and our first rodeo doing a full length record.
Really?
So it worked.
That was a good album for both of you guys to be your first time.
Yeah. So whatever transpired in there, it worked. And Bo Hill wasn't about to miss a beat, and the label presidents weren't about to miss a beat, and they wanted the sophomore to be a hit, and it was. Thank God, you know.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I remember when it came out. I was so excited. I had that when got it to set. I was so looking forward to it. But like all your albums, and one thing is consistent. They all have a certain sound. There's not like there's no uneven sound on the album. Like this album could be here, and this could be belong with this album. Each album, and whether it's the production or the song choice or the order, you know, it works out really good. And this album I felt like was really designed for like stadium, for live playing. A lot of the songs just felt like they were very much designed for an audience. You know,
well, we did consciously want our songs to be able to come across live. It wasn't until later we got a little out of hand, because a lot of those notes that I had to banshee yell and scream weren't gonna work well on the road for 14 months. Night after night, I wouldn't have a voice. So we learned real quick, don't do that. If you can avoid it, don't make us sing or do something that you can't reproduce on stage.
Well, there's still singers that are doing that now with certain notes they sang when they were younger. Then, when you get older, you can't sing those anymore. You're singing it down key.
You can. There are guys who can do that, and God bless them. I don't know.
There's only a few that can still do it, that have the voice of there's only a few Sammy Hagar voices out there that can just still hit those notes,
Yes.
That they wrote when they were younger.
Correct. Yeah, that's true. But I mean, they made me do stuff like, I'll Never Use Love or Dance. I got to tell you, when that record came out and they picked that single, I was like, oh shit. You mean I gotta do that every night? It's gonna get in the way of my partying, man. But I have a voice. I'm lucky enough to have a voice, whether people think it sucks or not. Sometimes I think it sucks, but it is what it is. But you got to be careful, trying to do these things and hit these notes, because it'll haunt you, later on when you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, but I had to prove I had balls or something, or everybody's doing it. And
you have a singer voice. You're a singer and you have a rock voice.
Say what?
I'm saying you have a singer and you have a rock voice, and you're on tour, and you have like, especially having a rough, gravelly, bluesy voice, any singer that has that kind of voice, after a certain while, you're going to blow it out, or you're going to have a bad couple of years live because the weather. I mean, it's not a guitar. It's not going to be. It's hard to keep it in tune. It's moving and breathing. It's a body part. So
yeah, I'm lucky enough to have a voice, or unlucky enough, but I don't have to really worry about it. You know, I don't really bite into a towel backstage or go me. You know, I'd rather laugh and talk and work my voice, you know, pre-show that way. But I've never really had a problem, and I'm very fortunate that I could go out there. We actually did 29 shows in a row, something really crazy back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't think I was going to be able to do it, but I'm like, well, let's just do it and see what happens. And
I think your voice has gotten better, like stronger, like, you know, live performances. I think there's a time where I don't know, like you had problems with your legs and you had medical issues and stuff going on, and you're just regular singing, you know, it wasn't top or bottom, it was just whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm not knocking you, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But we all have life stuff going on. I couldn't do what you do. But the point is, like, I'm lucky voice, but your voice getting stronger again, though. Like, it's getting stronger again. Like, is my point. It's like, it's great.
Well, that's happening because I don't partake or indulge in these dangerous substances any longer. And if you're drinking like a fish, you're going to have some problems eventually down the line, or maybe not. It depends on what kind of music you play and your delivery with people. I mean, there's so many aspects to that. But I'm happy, you know, we're fortunate enough to have a voice to where I don't worry about it. I just do what I do.
It sounds good, and you know,
the guy that goes out there is a whole nother person. I flip a switch before I go out, and the minute I come back off stage, I flip it, and that's it. So I kind of don't even, you know, how I can get away with some of that, I don't know, but I'm enjoying.
Well, keep doing what you're doing. It's your voice has gotten stronger, and maybe even if you're drinking, your mindset's a different spot, so you're not singing it properly because you're not thinking that way. I mean, maybe not have to do with your voice. It's just like where you're at. If you're doing other stuff, you know what I mean. If your heart's not into it, if it's a performance, you're like kind of walking through it, you know.
Correct. And here's, you know, somebody told me a long time ago, this teacher, and I never had voice lessons, even though I was told to try to get some, but that'll just disturb your character and individuality. But they told me, think the note before you speak the note. And within that little millisecond, most probably you'll hit it. Mm-hmm. So to those singers out there, try it sometime. There is enough time in your head to do it, believe it or not, to think about the note before you sing it. So I tend to do that quite a lot. It's very helpful, you know, because you'll be amazed. Sometimes I just go, holy shit, it works. You think it. And
you know, we got a lot going on too. To be thinking that you guys are moving. You guys are a very physical band, and we're talking. Well, now you are your solo band, Rat Bastards. But even the day, I mean, you got to move. You can't sit still on that stage, especially with Warren and his bass guitar. The way he jazzercises with it all around, and it can knock you out.
Yeah, you know, Warren has a tendency to still try to, but I know he knows he can't. You know, look, those were days when you're in your 20s and you could climb on the scaffolding and rafters and you know, fall on your ass and get up. That doesn't happen too much anymore. And we're very lucky, us 35 years later, that we can still deliver. I mean, I would love to see the band. I mean, look, I've jammed with Bobby. I would love to see Bobby jam with Juan and me, and I would love to see Warren pull into the picture. You know, but that's up to him. And if it never happens, it doesn't happen. We have a great legacy.
You do. It'd be a shame.
But we'll see what happens. You know, I mean, I had a great time with Bobby out there. Yeah. I mean, never missed a beat. It was like, that's our Bob, you know. But if there was a live audience and it was, you know, a bunch of thousands of people, it would have been a whole nother ball game. Yeah, that's when all hell breaks loose.
I mean, it'd be nice if even if the four of you secretly get together one time and just play for fun as a band to kind of have some kind of closure. You know what I'm saying? Like, just no tapes, no recording, just as
Right.
friends, as you started.
Yeah.
That would be that's how I think.
Yeah, knowing me, if that's all recorded, let you know.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know.
Gesture. If so, Dancing Undercover came out, once again, new sound, still platinum. You're still guys kicking butt. Dance came out, a little different song. I wasn't kind of expecting that. It felt the sounds were almost like the guitars were almost like they were short and punchy in that album. I don't know if was it the change so on purpose, because it felt like you guys were getting even a little heavier. Body Talk was like poppy, but then actually heavier.
Yeah, you're talking Dancing, right?
Yeah, Dancing Undercover, kind of that one right now. So,
well, let me explain Dancing to you. Dancing was really a premeditated record. You know, we saw Invasion was more of a polished record.
Yeah.
It was for that year and that time and that episode, the RATT Lives. But when it came time to, oh shit, okay, we made the sophomore glitch. We made it out of that. Now, what are we going to do next? Robin and I, and most of us, even Warren, decided we wanted to go back to basics. Let's just try back to EP's Cellar. There was no pressure. The songs were harder, and let's not have as much fluff, so to speak, because then everybody was by Invasion, all these new bands, everybody's used your producer, taking your tricks, and so we really wanted to make a change in the delivery of that record. We wanted it to be harder, a little much heavier, a heavier record, and
it did feel heavier.
Accomplished, you know.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, even like when you it doesn't matter when you start off and you start playing just a guitar, it's just you singing with a guitar.
Right, Neil Warren, yeah.
Yeah, that was probably like I love that song. The whole album is really good.
Thank you. We would try different things. I mean, if you have the ability to to do different things and experiment, not literally, because we knew, and now we know, even to this day, there is a schematic to RATT music. Juan knows it, I know it, Warren knows. It's just Bobby knows. It's just stuck in our heads. And so even if we wanted to do something to make it different, like the other RATT records that came after the Sony Portrait record and even Infestation, without Bo and, in the nucleus, or at least the four of us in the nucleus, it's going to be hard to, it would be very hard to
put it
get
together,
the real picture of what people, expect and what RATT really is. Because you actually, you get where I'm going with that?
I do. I think you do have a RATT sound. You have there's a formula and there's a chemistry that you and the guys make and Bo makes, and that actually. So as we're going through, we're just going to do the RATT stuff. We're halfway there. So that actually is perfect with Reach for the Sky. So I know Reach for the Sky, I think you tried without Bo.
Yes.
And Bo had to come back.
Well, look at what's right in front of me.
There you go. Perfect. Because I have the artwork. You've got to tell me, what the hell is that album cover?
Well, I'll explain it.
I've looked at that thing so many times in my life, and I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah, well, I've done pretty much the art direction for the band since day one, merch, everything. Actually, I had to explain that to somebody today. And with Reach, I was thinking, let's try something trippy. I mean, here's a little trivia. Dancing Undercover, the back of the record, with the front of the record with the five guys, was supposed to be the back.
Yep.
And the picture of the lips was supposed to be the front.
Okay.
I guess 3 guys out of 5 wanted their faces up there in the front. I didn't. So whatever, it doesn't bother me. I'm, just did the art direction and that's it. So the same be said for Reach. And what I wanted to do with Reach is create kind of a hypnosis level, like the guy who did the UFO records, Lights Out, that art. Yeah, so I was just trying to do that. So I told everybody, and the moon is actually not a golf ball. Okay. So I asked everybody to give me an idea of something visual that they would like, right? Like think of something that's kind of trippy. This time I want to do something kind of really out there. So I did. And there's a couple things missing from the one that came out, the eventual cover. I got close. And Warren has it framed, is that woman, she actually shows a tit. We had to cover her up because they wouldn't sell it.
Right.
The moon, Bobby wanted his golf ball in there because he was playing a lot of
time. Yeah.
Like, oh, that would be great. Make the moon a golf ball. Okay. It made it on some. And then I wanted the book to read, Reach for the Sky. So who knows what I was thinking, the plane, but it was just and by the way, another Backstage Past trivia is how can I explain it to you? Yeah, the art on that record is really out there. I got close, but it didn't go.
Well, the arms are tied up. I mean, I don't just like, yeah, I mean, there's like a wicker chair and there's like,
but the point is,
goggles. Yeah,
is I never really wanted to name an album if there was a song with the same title. Mm-hmm. Okay, hence that song Reach for the Sky we wrote in 1983. Well, it ended up on being a title, never using the song. So a lot of these records were songs. Invasion of Your Privacy is a song title. You know, it ended up being something else. Dancing Undercover, the same thing. That was a song title. So there's no way I'm going to put a song and an album, you know, the same thing. Right. I've done with Under My Skin, a solo record, first time ever. And I've never really wanted lyrics ever in any of our albums. And I believe the only one that RATT escaped me was Detonator, which is a whole group of producers and people. Yeah, I don't believe in, you know, telling the story. I like people to figure out your story.
Well, how did the Reach for the Sky become a title? And you already had the song, and you're like, you know what? I just like the title because the album's different. I feel like at this point, you guys were getting big. You guys were having some issues. You know, trying to decide that on a producer and stuff. I'm looking at some of the song titles I wrote down.
Right.
Really, it was not the quality of your music didn't change.
No.
The album had a different sound. I mean, you still Wait Cold Jr. I mean, who's going to touch that now at their best? I mean, that's a good, you know, City to City just feels like that's a touring song. I mean,
yep. And here again, you go. City to City is a Mickey RATT song. I could play you a Mickey RATT version and live at the Troubadour when Mickey RATT played there in 1981. And I like that version better. A lot better, but it is what it is. You get all of us together and Bo, and then you get our delivery. What people, you know, it's
a very polished album though, too, though. And I think with a lot of Mickey RATT stuff, it's a lot heavier, which I personally like. I enjoy it. Like the Ride and Round example, I like the Mickey RATT thing. I listen to a lot. I love that one. The anthology.
Yeah, it is a different.
It's just heavier. I mean, your vocals are produced fine, so it's not even like it's not like demo-y. It just feels like the guitars are just different.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
so and that's just Reach for the Sky is kind of polished. I think is that what happened with Bo when he came in? He kind of polished it for Atlantic.
Oh yeah, he had free. Then it was like he was going to show us how important he was in the mix. But I mean, who knows? We were all over the place. We have been touring for years.
Right.
We're up, and you know, with that success breeds excess, and you know, a lot of things went down. I don't know if where we were at or why City to City ended up, you know, so far down the line. That song should have been on the EP, you know, or Cellar.
Unless it just didn't fit once again sonically. I mean,
but the whole
been
story,
one of the things.
Yeah, the whole story behind Reach for the Sky, Beau Hill actually talks about, if you Google it, Beau Hill on the production of Reach for the Sky. It wasn't that we never wanted to use Beau again, because I love Beau. I've used him for solo stuff. And I think, you know, if we were ever to do a record, contrary to what the others might think, Beau Hill would be my first choice to bring back, of course. You know, we made this sound together. You know, it's almost like, the hidden sixth member per se, you know, our mutt lang, so to speak, you know.
Yeah.
He knew what to do with us. And the whole story behind that, I'm not even going to tell it. You'd have to do it, you know, look it up, because actually
I've looked up too. So actually, I'll have the viewers look it up so we can hit a couple albums and not keep you tied up all day. But it's a good look it up, everybody. I know the story. I know the backstory too. So that one, it's a good one. But that's why I know a little bit. Why I can go back and forth with this. So then you guys come out. Rock is, you know, hair metal, rock, whatever you want to call it. I don't really care. Is eating itself at this point because it's been a copy of a copy of a copy. There is the right for the taking, you know. Then grunge comes, whatever you want to call it. But at that point, you guys squeeze out Detonator. You get Desmond Child in. You go for a different sound.
Yes,
it's a fantastically. Once again, it's cohesive. It's a different level, and I love it.
I agree. That record again. You know, if I had the catalog in front of me, I like Detonator.
It's got Shame, Love and Use Their Job, Scratch That Itch, One Step Away, Hard Time, Heads You Win and Tails You Lose. I didn't know Bon Jovi sang in the background for that one.
Yeah, he sang on that.
All or Nothing, Giving Yourself Away. My God. And the Top Secret made it to this one.
Yeah, Top Secret, that again,
finally.
That got rehashed. I don't know what happened. I'm sure we had more material, but you know, everybody just threw in their tapes and threw in their demos. Literally, here's demos that I got my songs, Robin or Warren, Juan, here's my stuff. And they would be nitpicked. We you know, Bo would go through the songs and tell us which ones to really work on. But Detonator, I love that record. I think it was a great effort. You know, Robin wasn't around as much, so it suffered without his input, I believe. And you know, you can only do with the tools you got. And
I gotta be honest with you, from the outside, it didn't sound like you suffered at all, you guys. It really, like I said, it's one of my favorite albums. I mean,
yeah, I mean, Robin's on there, but he really, you know, he didn't have a hand in too much stuff, and that really bothered me. I'm sure it bothered him
emotionally. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, look, it is what it is. But that record is a pretty interesting record, Detonator. And then again, you know, I visualize what I hear, and that's how I come up with a concept for any kind of art direction.
But your voice was used too on this one a little differently, you know.
Yeah, it was on Detonator, 100%.
I would have loved to seen where you went from that, because then obviously, you know,
well,
I held a handbasket after that.
Well, you know where I went right after that is with Arcade.
Arcade, yep.
That's how my voice was stronger somehow. My voice was crazy for some reason when I did the Arcade, the first Arcade, and that was a great record, you know.
Yep.
So it's not like I got, you know, my voice really got damaged or hurt or anything, but it worked.
It was good. I mean, yeah, we've talked about some of your soul stuff, and I just was
and then way cool. And then way cool. You know, we saw what everybody was doing. Everybody was doing the ballads around the dance era. We didn't want to do that, even though we did One Step Away and this other song Robin and I wrote. We got close. What I love about Detonator is giving yourself away with Diane Warren and Desmond Child. That is an experience. I took so much out of that. You know, when Klogner had us, even with that RATT record with without Bo, with Klogner, and he put his, you know, in with writing with all these people, I embraced those writing sessions and learned as much as I could from the people who were these crazy writers.
Yeah.
But I mean, having the opportunity to write with Desmond and Diane Warren on that song, it was fucking amazing. To this day, it's one of my best songs I think I've written with anybody.
And sound, your voice is once again, you know, and that shows you the song. You write a song to your voice. So you know, and that's why there's certain songs that some people can't sing. The best singer in the world can't sing a certain song.
Sure, you're right.
There's songs for certain voices. You write for your voice, and they wrote for your voice, but with their influence, and it was just a whole new thing. So. You know.
Yeah, and it was Diane Warren that said we need a working title. She works differently, I guess. You know, I do that sometimes too. I'll come up with the title and then work around that, or let us music stew, and then you go back and go, oh shit, perfect. she asked me, what have you never done? What have you never done? And I said, hey, giving myself away. She said, there's your song title. Now let's go. It was great. I mean, these are like mega pro writers, you know. I mean, you better learn something.
I like that. I like the fact you talked about when we first talked to you. You're all about learning in the studio. You're all about not just partying, about learning, growing. And clearly, with all your soul albums, you've kept working it. It's a craft. It's an art. Yeah. I think the only album that was really neat is we're almost at the end here, but with the questions with so Collage came out when you guys kind of were starting to get back together, kind of a weird time,
right?
That was, and obviously the Collage is a collage, so it's not really a lot to talk about. It's a lot of Mickey RATT stuff, some stuff thrown in, some stuff repolished. Top Secret was on it again. You know, Top Secret was quite a bit. So Collage, loving you,
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Collage was a record to where we weren't doing anything. You know, I had done Arcade, I established my indie label, and then I was taking a look at our catalog at some point, and I was like, okay, we've got to kick this in the ass. So why don't we get together? And we got all those together. I believe I ran into Warren just walking down the street. Boom, boom. And then I went, hey, by the way, you know, our catalog, this, that, and would you like to, you know, instigate something and put it out there and see what happens? He was into it. We picked a bunch of Mickey RATT songs, redirected them with his input. And then this is what we got. So it's a fun record. You might
see it's not a demo album by any means, but like when I heard Detonator and then that came out, I was like, oh, a new RATT album. And I listened to that, it's like, whoa. Because it was a different animal, you know. Right, it was older RATT.
It was actually literally a collage. But it was a record that did exactly what I wanted it to do, get us back together and stimulate the catalog. And
I thought it was for tour, like that you wanted to have some material to tour on too, because a lot of artists won't tour without.
A tour came out of it.
Oh, okay. So it's the opposite.
And it got us back together. You know,
then it was worth it.
Or a few of us, I think. Yeah, Juan wasn't involved still. Yeah.
No, I think Robbie at that point, because Robbie did that. So last two albums you guys did together, and I think RATT, the self-titled RATT, or 1999, whatever they want to call it. I think there's some really great cuts on that one, like Over the Edge, Lifted Today, and Lovesick is so ridiculously good. I mean, there's other songs, but you know, it's so good.
Yeah, you know, that's the Portrait Sony record. That record, I like that record. I mean, look, there's no RATT record that I do not like, because it took a lot of time, life experience, blood, guts, and whatever goes into your music. So, you know, I respect all of her shit. Music, it's that if you don't have all the elements, I'll say again, you're not going to get the real big picture.
Right.
We can get away with it, like right now, because I have written a lot of the RATT music and songs myself. It would sound like a record. That's why I have problems getting, you know. I mean, thank God my guitar player Eric does a lot of the music for the solo stuff.
Yeah.
I come up with complete songs, because it takes me out of this, what people expect out of, you know, oh, I'm not getting a round and round from this guy. I don't want to do a round and round. It's been done. It'll never be done again. So that's where that helps with my writing. But that record with Lovesick, that's a great tune.
Yeah.
We really, we tried to get something done there, Warren and I. We really did. And then you get the next one. You know,
well, just say, I would say they Over the Edge was so good. Also, what was the album cover? Just one last on that album. Where did the album cover come from? What was that?
Infestation or the
no, the RATT album. It's like that looks like the person
the RATT
street. That
well, then again, it was looking for, you know, different art ideas, and I just really wasn't into the art directing at that time. You know, I oversaw things, but I really wasn't too excited about it. But Warren liked this idea of this artist guy. That picture is made by somebody engraving in wax or wood or something, and you make a print, and that's what you get. So whoever that artist is, he was really good. So I liked it. You know,
Yeah.
there was real no concept to it at all, but let's just put something really weird out there and just call it RATT. Reintroduce ourselves. And that's where that whole
good.
came together.
So, all right. So we're at the last one.
Yeah.
Infestation, which
yeah,
so fresh, so live sounding. It did not sound like an older band. It sounded like just right out of the gate, eating up alive. I mean,
I love that record, but you know, like, you know, some of our fans out there thought, oh, he doesn't like that record, and, you know, he should be happy and whatever. I'm always happy, number one. Number two, that record Infestation, I gave it a decent title. I just couldn't see it and hear it as a RATT record like I wanted, and Warren actually wanted too. We got close. No Cigar. I keep saying that. It's a great record. And, you know, I totally dig it. And we tried and did what we do. That's all you can. But those first two singles were written by me and Carlos. Yeah. So it's like me writing with somebody else and saying that's, you know, or Halford writing with some guy and saying that's Priest. You know, it's not, because you don't have all the elements.
It did sound like, you know, I think because there is a sound and certain things you can replicate.
Yeah.
Your voice you can't. Guitar sounds, you know, and take a guitar off your wall, put a humbucker in, get a phaser, whatever, and you're gonna say you can do a Zeppelin sound. Like nowadays, I got my Vox over there, I can do Queen. Not good, but so that point being, I think when you're not feeling the RATT sound, and this is feeling as a fan listen to it, we hear the RATT sound. You're not feeling, you guys aren't feeling Robin, the emotional songwriting connection. Also, you're hearing that missing spot because you guys know in your mind that was a missing part of your puzzle.
Correct.
On the outsiders, people are not hearing that same thing. I can tell you right now. It sounds like a RATT record.
I know. And that's because, you know, most important, I mean, my voice. I'm not taking all credit for everything, but I mean, look, I can't get away from that, and nor do I want to. It's just hard to get my other stuff across, solo stuff across, without people going, is that RATT? Is that a new RATT song? But that's all cool. I have my own identification, but it doesn't help on the other side of the coin, you know, so to speak. But that record, like I say, the first two singles, I love Eat Me Up Alive. That's a great song. I actually want to do it live with the solo band. And maybe RATT if we get there. But
it's some good stuff. A Little Too Much. I love A Little Too Much. I think it's my favorite song off that one.
Yeah. And, you know, talk about rewriting lyrics. We had all of us living in this compound at the time where the studio was at. We decided, well, get us out of LA. You know, get us away from the comfort zone, and maybe we could, you know, but little did the producer know that we were still doing what we did, no matter what state or city you put us in, right? So anyway, I'd rewrite the lyrics every morning. If I go sing, I'd go, hang on, let me go through the songs again. What are we doing today? Okay. And then I would sit there, and on that record in particular, I rewrote the lyrics every day up until the point I sang. It was crazy, but it came out pretty decent.
It's a good album. You should be proud of it, and it sounds like RATT. I think, like I said, on the inside, I think there's an emotional songwriting thing that you guys hear different than the rest of us.
Oh yes.
The song Scatter. Why are they still doing Japan only releases on stuff? What is up with that? Everything is on the internet now. Why would even and what? Japan's more important than all the other markets?
I know. You know,
isn't that crazy?
Know. Anytime you did a release in Japan in particular, you would have to give them a song or two that was never released in the US. And that was just the norm.
Right. Well, that was the 80s, and you could get imports. It was kind of fun. It was a special thing. I remember going to the record store. So I get that. But nowadays, it's all digital, where you can't download that half of the earth. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, you're right. You're correct. They got that was mandatory, and it was actually its own agreement contract when you did a record, released it, and Europe did the same thing. You know, Canada, no. You know, I mean, some other labels in other countries, whether it's the same label, they have different
rules.
You know,
cool.
Whole different take.
This has been awesome. You shared a lot of stuff. So let's end on what's going on with your Backstage Pass, your streaming.
Yeah, sure. You know, well, first, you know, we've been working very hard on with ASY TV, ASY TV, and a buddy of ours there, and to release our first production, Backstage Past production, and it's a rockumentary on me, and it's crazy. It's called, we're calling it Nothing to Lose, and it literally is stories about Mickey RATT, how I started RATT. I literally go to the old house where Mickey RATT was created, and I got in, and
really?
we were enough for them to be home. My family hasn't lived in there in ages, but same place. And I take you to a trip from here to there, interview a lot of people involved, band members at the time, associates, crew. It's going to be amazing, and so that rockumentary.
Is that where some of your stuff's coming from on your Instagram, like some of your artwork and stuff?
Yeah.
Are you digging up stuff for your archives to be like old artwork?
Right. I have like hundreds and just thousands of photos nobody has from day one. I knew then that it would be needed in the future, whether I was around to take care of or somebody else. So it's nothing, it just didn't happen overnight, this Backstage Past. I've been thinking about this for years and years, and how to, I'm getting into more visual art stuff now with shows and producing and that kind of stuff, writing, more film stuff we're into. And with my partner here, Christy Dare, who also is helped produce the concert, actually. So we're involved with this. It comes out next month, the first 3-part series of it. And it's going to be interesting because nobody's ever done that on RATT, on me, let alone RATT. We've done the long form videos and we talk about this and that, but not to the extreme to where we're taking
no,
you.
There's really nothing out there. I mean, people look at you behind the music. I mean, people gobble that up still. I mean, there's so little informative, true story RATT stuff out there.
Yeah. And so I'm going to give you the truth. I'm going to give you, look, this goes back to the lyrics. That's why I don't want lyrics in any albums. I want you to figure them out. I will make them your own, sing something different. And that's what has been happening. They still can't figure out my lyrics. It's brilliant. So this is going to be good because I take you literally to, we go to the whiskey, we go here, we go there, and it's something that hasn't never been done for RATT. So we decided our first production will be reintroducing the real story of how I created the band RATT. On the heels of Mickey RATT, the members who was in the band, talking to some of these ex-members, and it's going to be crazy. And that comes out, I believe, May. I'll post the real date. It's first week of May, again through ITV, and it's going to be great. 100% comes out in May, and then after the rockumentary, we'll begin filming for my new show, Backstage Past, The Real Deal. And that's, pretty much for our fans. Don't have to be a certain age, but the 1980s were such a special year, almost like the, 50 is the new 30. The 80s were fucking lightning in a bottle. I think
there's a lot of creativity. There was an opening for creativity. It was the apex of different styles could all come. Look at the 80s music. It was so different.
And I want to take you, we want to take you on a trip back, and not just with me. I'm going to have guests, different musicians, and maybe we'll step outside. But we're concentrating on this special decade, the 80s. It's unlike, and I can't really say much about it because, I'm seeing what people are doing out there, and I've talked to a few folks, and, they'd be willing to steal my ideas in a second.
No, yeah, you want to keep it to yourself.
Yeah, this one we're holding close, and called Backstage Past, not Pass, and we're going to literally you know, at the end of the day, which with each guest, including myself, you know, let you in on what we would like our legacy to be. And besides a whole lot of cool other stuff going on, you know, with the guest, when this comes out. But that scene can never be recreated, you know, the fashion, the music, just, I mean, if you could have like Berlin and Huey Lewis play with RATT, and at the same time RATT can share a dressing room with REM in the 80s, and, you know, I mean, there's so much that went on in the 80s. Anything went, you know. You had a Cyndi Lauper, you had a Judas Priest, an Iron Maiden, a RATT, and a Motley. I mean, it was just fucking unbelievable this decade. A lot miss it. It's never going to be recreated. It's almost like watching the Doors movie, the 60s. The Sunset Strip was just packed, you know, every night. I mean, there was an excitement, and we're really concentrating on that decade. And so much went on. We are going to try to bottle it up and give it to you, and with plenty of little cherries on top. You know?
That's awesome. I will, and I promote your stuff whenever you have it. I re-put it out on my media, so whatever you have, it will be re-promoted out. So anybody that follows me will be in the know, because I keep it out there. Nice.
Yes.
Follow it.
No,
I think you should make a photo book also with all your pictures and your artwork.
Yeah, that's already been done. I didn't save all those for enough. You know, actually, with Neil Slozar, we've been talking about a RATT coffee table photo book, which hasn't been done.
Nice.
We're gonna do that with Slows.
Good.
But the photos I have are on stage, off stage, backstage, I mean, at home. I mean, you know, I have so many cool things that I'm going to share. So yeah, I will explain each photo. That'll be a book we'll put out when Backstage Past airs.
You know, it's like when you with albums. Remember when you get an album, like you open up like the Allman Brothers, and you see everybody on tour and like laying out there. Those are the pictures that people love. It's the inlays of the albums. And
you're right, and that's how you got to. That was the only way, which I love about the 70s. Yeah, that's the only way you can find out anything about the band you like, through the magazine,
pictures.
Yeah, through the pictures and you know, stuff like that. So you're correct. So it's important. And we'll explain every little nuance in a photo. And I have photos that will blow your fucking mind. You know, people will go, no way, you can't show that. And I'll say, yes, I can. So look forward to that. But the show, Backstage Past with the Sci TV production, is the rockumentary Nothing to Lose. Comes out first week of May. And we'll let you know where to find it, or just go to a Sci TV and you'll find it.
I'll be promoting it too. I'll be talking to Christine, and I will make sure you know that I'm up with her, and I kick all your stuff back out, so we'll get that straight.
Great. And then sometime in between there, we'll see what happens with the band. Right now, RATT is inactive, hence the Bastards. But if we'll see what happens. There might be some commotion in the ocean this year for the band RATT, and that's all I can say. It might be a short swing or no swing. I don't know, but you know, everybody just go to the websites, official StephenPearcy.com, or all of our little websites out there, and we'll have news.
Awesome. I want to thank you, man, for being on the show. It's been a pleasure as usual. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother.